Hello! This is the start of a reading vlog for the arc of Cradle of Ice. It is the follow-up to the Starless Crown. This one right here. I read the Starless Crown early in 2022, I think it was one of the first books I read in 2022. Really enjoyed it. So excited for the second one that I ended up reaching out to Tor and asking for an arc of Cradle of Ice, and they were gracious enough to give it to me, so thank you so much to Tor. Yeah, I really don't know anything about it besides what I learned from this book, but it is this one was kind of a quest story with a ragtag group of diverse individuals from all over the continent. This world is rather interesting in that it is a planet that has stopped rotating around its own axis, so only a small portion of the planet is livable. There's like a ring around the planet that is not getting blasted by the sun or is too cold to be habitable. So everything kind of happens around this one ring. And in this one, there is a young student who gets a prophecy that the moon is going to fall into the earth. I think at the end of this one, they kind of confirm this prophecy. So I think the second book is going to be focused on figuring out how do we stop the moon from falling into the planet. So I am very excited for that. It is currently Thursday before New Year's Eve. I have Friday and Monday off of this weekend, so it's a 4-day weekend for me, but I don't expect myself to get much reading done because we have lots of plans. So I probably won't be doing too many check-ins. I might get some little vlog clips or something, but don't expect too much progress over this weekend. Okay, so it's been many days since I've checked in, but I'm only a little over 10% in. But I am, a little slow to jump back into it. I'm having to remember who all these characters are and why they are in the places they are currently in. Also, I hope this won't be true for the hardcover, the actual release of the book. I think I mentioned in the beginning, I just have an arc of it, but there's no map at the beginning. So that's kind of a thing. I'm either having to look up the map from the first book on my phone or pull out the first book and look at that map because I don't exactly remember where everything is or where it's supposed to be or what's going on. So I'm very slowly creeping my way back into this world, but I think I'm almost to the point where I'm remembering enough to really get into the story. But I'm also moving a little slow just kind of with my life. I'm editing a ton of videos right now, putting out a bunch of stuff right at the beginning of the year. I'm also in the midst of wedding planning. I'm actually heading out this weekend to go do the final touches on my wedding. And speaking of my wedding, the eagle-eyed observer will notice that this video is coming out much later than when it was filmed, if you are paying attention to the little dates I put into the videos, and that is for two reasons. One of which is Cradle of Ice doesn't actually come out till February 7th, I believe. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. And then my wedding is February 4th. So I am trying to pre-film some stuff to release during my wedding and my honeymoon so I don't have to edit and film while I'm trying to get married and enjoy my wedding and honeymoon and spend time with my soon-to-be husband. So that's where we're at right now. Life is crazy, but I am enjoying this book. Alright, currently about 20% in and I'm feeling good. I remember who everyone is. It's slowly coming back to me of why they are, where they are. In the first book, our main grouping ended up having to split up to go pursue two different angles of how to keep this cataclysmic event from happening. And so one group is off in what is called the Wastes, which is the nighttime side of the planet where the sun doesn't hit, so it is very cold. The other group is in the southern hot part of the kingdom, but they're still within where the people live. So they're off on their own separate adventures. We're jumping back and forth. We're feeling good. We're getting into some action now. We're meeting new people, which is a lot because I just remembered who the old people were. But we're good. I think my reading pace is probably going to pick up a little bit now that I remember what's going on and who we are following. And this weekend, I will hopefully have a little bit of time to get some reading done. We'll have to see. So today's Thursday. We're driving over to where our wedding venue is. It's about 4 hours. We're going to spend the night, and then tomorrow we have a meeting with our wedding coordinator at like 10 a.m. We're going to go with her through all like the last finishing details of the wedding, and then after that's done, we're going to drive north of the wedding venue by like an hour, I think, and stay there for the weekend because there is a ski resort over there that we get free tickets to with our season passes to our ski mountain. Wedding planning, skiing, and a ton of driving is the vibe for this weekend. So again, hopefully I will have some downtime to get some reading done, make some good progress, and check back in on Sunday. But I will be sure to include some clips, maybe, of what I did this weekend. Okay, it's Monday. I'm back from the gym. I'm sure you could tell my weekend was awesome from those clips. And it actually kind of worked out because like a lot of what I did really corresponds to like what I'm reading with the book. So it's almost like a book decides what I'm doing vlog, but unintentional. So the hot springs that we were in, that's actually the venue of where we're getting married. It's like a hot springs resort thing. And in the book, our adventuring group that is in the cold part of the planet ends up running into like this steam vent where people are living where they didn't know there was people on this side of the planet. So yeah, it's kind of like steam vent, hot springs, steamy vibes. So that was cool. And then the ski mountain itself was basically ice. So that would represent the rest of the wastes that they were adventuring through. It was fun. It was fun. It was a good mountain, but like the conditions were not ideal. As far as our other group that is in like the southern part of the Crown, I really didn't do anything that corresponded to them, but things are getting real bad for that group. We got some hostage situations, we've got some bombing situations. It's not great. So very excited to see where things go from here. We have hit a level of action adventure that I am gonna be obsessed with over the next couple days, and I'm just gonna try to squeeze in as much reading time as I possibly can. So let's do it. Okay, I've officially hit the 50% mark of Cradle of Ice. One of our expeditionary teams is having a much better go of it than the other. I am interested to see how we are going to... So the expeditionary team that is having a bad time, I'm interested to see where they're gonna go. Like what they're gonna do now that they've hit a pretty big wall, let's say. So very interested to see what happens with them. Got some answers on the other side of the earth as to what's going on with one of our teams. I don't know. Now that I've hit the 50% mark, I feel like this second half is going to go really, really fast. I think my Kobo is saying I have about 6.5 hours left, which to be honest could mean I do finish it this weekend. Other updates of my life. Today is Friday. I do have Monday off for Martin Luther King Day, so I do have a 3-day weekend this weekend. Originally, my boyfriend and I were planning on trying to go skiing this weekend, but the weather just looks really, really bad. So I think we're going to stay home, so which means I have, 3 days of the possibility of getting some really good reading time in. So there is a slight possibility I finish it this weekend, and of course if I do, I will be making updates along the way. But this afternoon I have my second dress fitting appointment in Spokane. We also need to pick up my boyfriend's suit in Spokane, so we'll be heading over to Spokane in about an hour to go do those things and go have dinner with my boyfriend's mom. So yeah, on the wedding planning front, clothes are being decided on, or I guess not decided on, but we've already decided clothes are being checkmarked further along. So that's very exciting. But yeah, I think that's about all the updates I have. It should be a good time. Hopefully if I don't finish the book this weekend, I make some really good progress. But we shall see. Hey yo, so it's Monday and I'm still only about 65%. So definitely not gonna finish today, but I did just wanna like do another quick little check-in. I'm realizing that James Rowlands just does such a good job of like keeping you hooked. So like I've mentioned before, we have two kind of expeditionary groups. So we spend a couple chapters with each group before we switch over to the other group and switch perspectives. And it's just every time we leave one of the expeditionary groups, I'm like a little disappointed. I'm like, oh man, like I was just like really getting into them, like what they were doing, like I want to keep seeing what's going on. But then I read like the first page of the next part with the other group and I'm like, oh right, there's all these things I want to know about this group, blah 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 blah. And so I don't know, I love his style of writing. It is taking me a long time to get through this book, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing about the book. I think it's just dense and deep. It kind of requires you to take your time, go through it a little bit more slowly. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of callbacks to the last book and to even within this book going back and forth, and so it's just taking a little bit of time, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. This isn't anything against like the book itself, but I think it's just because I'm reading an arc. So in the physical book of the Starless Crown, you get, oh, this is upside down. So yeah, in the physical book of the first one, the Starless Crown, you get like this beautiful map of all of the places they're going, and usually between parts of the book you get these really beautiful illustrations. Let me see if I can find one. Here we go. Of like the different animals the group is encountering, and because this is an arc, we don't have any of that. I'm hoping with like the actual physical book they will include like an expanded map, because they have gone outside the reaches of this map in this book. So I keep trying to like reference back to this map and it's not the same. It doesn't have the places that they are necessarily going. And we have been introduced to a lot of new animals and creatures, and we're not getting any of those illustrations. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for the physical actual release that we get some of that, because I think it really does add a lot to the story and the world, and being able to reference back to a map I think is really important for a story like this, where it is so quest based, and knowing where our different parties are at in relation to where the bad guys are at, I think adds some to the story. Like I said, it's nothing against like the book itself, but I'm hoping that they include some of those more illustrative world building aspects in the physical release. I'm gonna go hit the gym. I'm going to read some on the stair stepper and hopefully knock out another hour or so of the book. According to my Kobo, I have about 4 hours and 45 minutes left, so if I can spend like 45 minutes on the stair stepper, that can get me down to 4 hours, and then hopefully I can finish this by the end of the week, but we'll have to see. Okay, so I'm currently at 88% into Cradle of Ice, have less than 100 pages left. The Kobo is estimating, I think, like an hour and a half, and so I thought I was gonna have like a nice leisurely evening to fit in an hour and a half of reading. But as it turns out, Mother Nature is working with me and against me and decided to dump snow on our favorite ski resort that we have season passes to. So we are taking tomorrow off and we're gonna go skiing. And so if I want to finish this and still have access to like my camera and everything, I need to finish it quickly, because we are going to leave tonight to go up to the cabin where we stay to go skiing. I'm basically just gonna binge for the next hour and a half, hope I finish it, give a quick finish up, and close out this vlog. So that is the plan. Let's see how we do with implementation. Finished, and I know I said I I would like wrap it up and like finish out this vlog, but a lot of shit went down in the last 50 pages and I need some time to like take it in, digest. So I will be back after I go skiing this weekend and do, you know, a full breakdown of thoughts and feelings. Cause honestly, like up until this bit of reading I just did, I was like, we're at like a high 3, low 4. And after like this ending we just got, I am so hyped and so pumped for the next one. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to like give it some time, let it breathe a little bit, and get back to you. Okay, so I am back from my ski weekend and showered, and I managed to catch a cold. Like literally minutes after I finished recording that last clip, I could feel my throat getting a little scratchy, and it's just gotten worse since then. So we'll try to be quick about getting through these final thoughts of Cradle of Ice. So overall, rating wise, I think a 4 is probably where it should be. So I know I had talked about maybe bumping it up because of the ending, but after letting kind of the ending sit for a bit and realizing that just getting answers to questions from the first book is not necessarily what a good book is, I think sticking with a 4 is good. This book is really, really long and feels really long, but I did enjoy my reading process. My favorite character is still Camp. He's still my fave. The brother of the heir to the throne. Like kind of, you know, Prince Harry vibes, spare, whatever. Very relevant. Something else I wanted to touch on, each chapter has, or I guess not chapter, each part of the book. I think there's like 10 parts maybe? There's a lot of like parts of the book, but each part is started with like kind of an epitaph of in-world literature and sayings and that kind of stuff, and it just really, I guess on a larger note, the world building of this book is just incredible. Every culture feels so well fleshed out, all the animals, the ecosystem, the geography, topography, all of it so cool, so well thought out, just really A++ on world building in this book. Another A++ is bad guys. Like, Rollins writes the most incredible bad guys. Like, just, they're so good. And they're so, again, like the world building, so fleshed out and thought through about why they are the way they are, why they're doing what they're doing, the decisions they're making. They're obviously doing bad things, but if you can really see what led them to that point and why they're doing what they're doing, which is just chef's kiss. Love it. This was just another kind of note on James Rollins as an author because I've read so much of his work. Kind of the robot-like characters in this world of the Moonfall saga feel very reminiscent of kind of the brass robot antagonists we run into in The Last Odyssey. So I just thought it was kind of an interesting connection, I guess, between his action thriller side and his fantasy side. They do really seem to coalesce together. And another way I kind of see those two coming together is in the magic system of the Moonfall saga. It is what's called bridal song, like bridling something, bridal song. And it is kind of what it sounds like. The character sings a tune of some sort, and that allows them to control a lesser-minded being, like an animal or something. They can sing this song and control the actions of an animal, like kind of like an avatar. And then our main character uses it in interaction with some of the ancient technology that has been left behind by the ancient people of this world when the earth was still rotating. And some of the ways he describes this magic system being used feels very like science-y, and it's really, really cool. Like I had mentioned, one of the characters uses this bridal song to interact with this ancient brass structure, and she's talking about how she can visualize that this metal is made up of like smaller particles with like gaps in between them. Like she can envision like the atomic structure of this metal where it has, you know, atoms with blank space in between, and she's talking about how her bridal song is navigating between those particles to be able to move through this seemingly solid structure and interact with it, which is just very cool as someone who's a big, quantum physics fan, envisioning, waves moving through and bouncing off particles in a solid structure. Very neat. And kind of my final written note that I wanted to make sure I hit on is one of the characters is saved with like a true love's kiss, and I just thought that was funny. I thought it was a little silly. Definitely a lot of parts of this book, they're just a little silly, and that's okay. It's a fantasy. It can be silly and not make a whole lot of sense, but it's just funny that he has such a structured like world building and mostly structured magic system, but then he's like, we saved this character with true love's kiss. Like, we did it. If you enjoyed the Starless Crown, I think you will really enjoy the Cradle of Ice. I am starting to set into some brain fog, so I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video.